Raven wearing, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, son of a gun, and I'm having a hard time holding these alligators.
You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, limo jet flying. We Ric Flairing on us, flaring on us. We Ric Flairing on us. You talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, limo jet flying. We Ric Flairing on us, flaring on us. Yeah, we Ric Flairing on us, flaring on us. It's apparent these girls staring. I'm Ric Flairing, gold across my chest. I'm fresh to death. I'm Paul Bearing, not at all scary. When I open like Fetty Wops and find to these circles that's going in like a carry shot. Woo! I'm going in like a Mary Pop off that Mary Crop at the top flow at the Marriott. So questioning me is like questioning you. See, we the best dressed, so come and get blessed with the crew. Not one but two, different ways to slaughter your crew. Committed tat across the chest, I guess she blessed with the truth. People want to see them checks, representation of proof. Living through my elders trying to resonate to the youth. But ain't nothing to get my flash on. Longevity is heavily embedded in my melanin. Layman terms, I last long. My grind repetitive, I'm smoother than real silk. Lyrical cash cow who can't cry over spilled milk. We in here. You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, limo jet flying. We Ric Flairing on us, flaring on us. We Ric Flairing on us. You talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, limo jet flying. We Ric Flairing on us, flaring on us. We Ric Flairing on us, flaring on us. This ain't no normal situation, this preparation with greatness. Industry full of fakeness, it's really up for the taking. See, life is what happened to you, more so how you take it. Don't get stripped of your knowledge and mentally leave you naked. I like to live otherwise. I'm sorry that I'm fresh to death. I put the polo and apologize. See, black son, we ain't nothing like the mother guys. Quit to socialize, we organize, then we mobilize. Off the deep end like a scuba diver. And no confusion, just keep it pushing like Uber drivers. Woo! Business fresh just like a supervisor in a Gucci visor. Can't find a smoother rhymer. You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, limo jet flying. We Ric Flairing on us, flaring on us. We Ric Flairing on us. You talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, limo jet flying. We Ric Flairing on us, flaring on us. We Ric Flairing on us, flaring on us.
Yeah, DQ baby. Shout out that boy Nigga for that fire track. Hey, Black Sun, sun up. What's up, Vinny Vegas? What in Vegas? Yeah. Shout out Pharaoh's Kids, D-Phase, yeah, Bubba C, yeah, Ric Flairing on them, Ric Flairing on them, Ric Flairing on them, Ric Flairing, son up, baby.
Yo, Scotty, you going crazy for this one. We see what you're doing, we salute you. Hey, let's get it started. It's Backpack Capital One. What's in your wallet? Got a call from my man A. Scott. I said I got it. Love that you highlighting all of these black colleges. Try to pay me for doing this. Look, bruh, if you don't get off my line with that foolishness, voice of the Swac, pull up where you at, no cap. If the Brody is speaking the soft facts. My advice, tune in to every show. Captain Petty, but we know that the sergeants are with the smoke. Speculate, just tell me what is we doing. Get into it, okay, look, I'ma say this and keep it moving. My boy Scotty, man, he offer the least. Black grad, paying college, I'm glad that he called me. Walk it, cause we all been taught that talk is cheap. Even primetime knows Scott for the HBCU streets.
What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Scotty. Listen, I'm back with another one. Happy Hump Day! Mike. What day is it, Mike? What day is it, Mike? Hump Day! What's up, Mike? All right, so listen, appreciate y'all for tuning in. As always, I'm your host, Scotty. All right. Listen, got some news. Listen, breaking news. All right, breaking news. My mama's in the building. My mom flew in town last night. She is currently probably in the kitchen talking to Key right now. Mama Script is in the building. All right. And listen, we was having a conversation last night, and she said, you doing a show tomorrow? And I was like, yeah. She said, probably hating on Jackson State. Like, whose team are you on? Okay? Whose side are you on, ma'am? Ma'am, you've known me way longer than you know. I came out of your hoo-ha, and you over here still repping Jackson State. I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing? You know what I'm saying? But she's in the next room over there, probably watching the show, probably shaking her head as we speak. But anyway, all right, listen, let's get into a couple of topics, but I got a couple of announcements. Listen, we still doing the huddle breakdowns, but we're going to have to change it up, okay? We're going to have to change it up. You can't send it to me on Instagram or Twitter anymore. I'm going to have a specific email, all right? I'm building it right now. It's going to be recruiting@itsoffscript.com. Okay, I'm gonna say that again. Recruiting@itsoffscript.com. I'm gonna have everybody send your stuff there, so my COO can have an official correspondent. What we're gonna have to start doing is we're gonna have to have kids and their parents sign waivers. Okay, it's all fun and entertainment till somebody gets sued. Okay, so I ain't trying to get sued. So we're gonna have to send you a waiver. You get you and your parents to sign off on it. Then I will do your video on the channel. So I'm gonna have to put a stop. I'm gonna have to pump the brakes on it because you gotta do it right. All right. So I'm gonna have to have you guys send it over to It's Off Recruiting. I'm gonna have it all. I'm gonna post it on my Instagram and Twitter and stuff like that. But we gonna have to change it up just a tad. We're still gonna be back at it, but you gotta come at it a different way. All right. Also, listen. I'll be trying to tell y'all, I'm the baddest man out here doing it. All right. I'll be trying to tell y'all I'm the baddest man out here doing it, but y'all don't be listening, right? I got an interview, and not just any interview. I got the interview with the executive director of the Orange Blossom Classic on Monday. Her publicist reached out to me. She said, Scotty, we love yours.
I'm petty. 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 I'm petty.
I said, you do. I said, I love being petty just as much. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to the Orange Blossom Classic. Shout out to Miss Kendra. Shout out to Miss Mason. All right. Make sure you are tuned in and locked in on Monday, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Executive Director of the Orange Blossom Classic going to be in the building. Executive Director of the Orange Blossom Classic is going to be in the building. Okay, that's what it is. Shout out. Loving it. We keep doing it bigger and better things. All right, now listen. Okay, so let me tell you how this came about. So you already know HBCU Game Day had 2 articles, not just one, but 2 articles. One written by Stephen Gaither, and one written by a Vaughn Wilson, okay? If he was in the early 1700s, Vaughn, sound like somebody off of Bridgerton. Oh, I'm Duke Vaughn Wilson. So Vaughn Wilson wrote an article. Stephen Gaither also wrote an article, right? And pretty much it was just, I felt bad. I felt so bad for fam. I really did, man. I really did. Oh, that's my executive director. That's my executive director, you know. My highlight, that's her right next, handing the trophy over. You know what I'm saying? She that big. You know what I'm saying? She's that, you know, black girl magic. You feel me? So that's her handing over the title as well. But this is what it looks like. So mind you, APR, let me break this down. All right. APR is a 4-year average of your academic progress report at a school, right? Your academic progress report as a school. So you can have a bad year in over the average, okay? You know what I'm saying? Could come out on top. You could be like, you know, 950, 960, 970, and then you have a 901, and then probably average out to like a 945, a 930, whatever. So this is what their average was, right? So I think I got the last two mixed up or whatever. I think the 2021 was a 9-10, and then what? Anyway, either way, it was bad. Either way, it was bad. So now they're getting, and I felt really bad because listen, roughing the SWAC group that name is synonymous with what it is. I mean, Bama's be just stepping on your head. Like, if they have any room to come get you, oh my God, best believe they're going to come get you, right? So I do not, listen, there's a lot of intricate things that happen when it comes to APR. I've called a couple coaches. I've gotten some mixed reviews, right? But at the end of the day, it's all about your players matriculating and graduating, okay? That's even if they transfer. I want to be very clear. Even if a player transfers, for that first year they're at their new institution, they still fall on your books. So when a lot of people say, hey, we don't like this player, just cut them, well, it's bigger than that, okay? It's a bigger hit towards that, okay? So you have to be very mindful of how you're cutting, releasing players, because if you let players go and they don't go back to college or they don't get picked up and they end up being at home, that hurts your APR, right? So while you think you building this beastie of a franchise or whatever, it's hurting your APR. Now, mind you, also, and I've read a couple articles where HBCU schools are naturally in a tough predicament when it comes to APR because, one, they have a low enrollment rate. So when you have low numbers and then you might have a high, please be very mindful when I'm saying this. I'm not saying like a failure rate, but I'm just saying like a circumstance rate, right? So if I got 30,000 kids and 5,000 of them have academic issues and or family issues and they have to leave, that leaves me with 25,000 other Bamas, right? A lot of HBCUs don't have that. They might have 5,000 or 7,000 kids, and if 1,000 of them jokers are having family issues or academic issues to where they can't go to school or things like that, that also hurts your APR as well when it comes to football and scholarships and stuff like that. So I wanted to make that very, 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 very clear. Okay. There's a lot of intricacies to this that go on and things like that. So I just want to make that very clear. All right. So FAMU, at the end of the day, you got to get your stuff together. Okay. I don't know how, I don't know what. You need to get them Bamas moving up. Now, mind you, let's just call it the COVID free pass. All right. COVID has allowed a lot of schools to have low per year. I want to make that very clear. Per year, not average. For the last 2 years, COVID has allowed schools to have a low APR because of the COVID situation. Okay. Because of the COVID situation. So a lot of schools, I made a BOLO list. Okay. And in the military, it's called be on the effing lookout. Be on an epic lookout. Okay. Be on the effing lookout. These schools, this is the schools per year that need to be worried about their APR in the upcoming years, because mind you, this is how an average works, right? A lot of you guys don't understand math, okay? A lot of you guys don't understand math. Math is this. If I start a new year, from that point forward, I got 4 more years until that low average drops off, okay? So this is the new 2021 averages. See, this is one thing I don't like about the media. They don't tell the full story, okay? You got to tell the full story. There are schools that are particularly on the cusp of starting a new trend of bad stuff. We all took math classes, okay? So if you got a 904, all right, if you got a 904, or if you got an 895 like Jackson did for 2021, your next year's got to be crazy to overshadow that score. So you got to have a 960, a 970, a 950 to outdo that average. Okay? See, HBCU game day ain't gonna put that out because Jackson State is making all their money. Okay? That's what tell the full story. Okay? Tell the full story, because 9 times out of 10, that 2022 year is going to be washed by COVID. So that gives FAMU another year to get their average back up. Okay? Same thing, but these are the ones that need to be on the lookout as well, because if you don't do good your next year as well, you're going to be on the next article. You're going to be on the next article. So yes, is FAMU in some shit? Abso-freaking-lutely. Because of their 4-year average. Their 4-year average is this. Okay? So, but once again, the other years, you got to be on the lookout when you're building this thing out. Okay? So while you're pointing the finger at these other institutions, that's my thing. See, you know me, I don't believe in picking and choosing. I don't believe in picking and choosing when you want to talk smack. Okay? My whole thing is tell the full story. Tell the full story. You see what I'm saying? So don't pick and choose what you want to talk about. Tell the full story. That's my whole thing. Now, I also talked to some coaches, and they said the transfer portal is probably the biggest hurt. It's probably the biggest threat to HBCUs and for what they're trying to do. Because before, as we all know, coaches could stop you from transferring, right? So essentially this, let's say a kid is not eligible, but they want to jump in the transfer portal. Well, before, a coach could tell you no, because why are you trying to get in the portal? You're not eligible. So now your APR hurts me. Now you jumping in the portal hurts my APR. You see what I'm saying? So it's all those little intricacies that have now been taken away because the transfer portal is so wide open. It's so free. It's just kids can do whatever they want, whenever they want, not always thinking about what they're doing to the institution, but because at the same time, coaches were stopped to... Coaches use their power to stop players from transfer, even if they were in good standing. So you had to weigh the balance of, okay, you're telling me what I can't do, or you're just trying to stop me from being competitive at another place. It's little things like that made the transfer portal so, so big for so many kids, because you're like, well, now I don't need a permission from my institution. But at the same time, now you're jumping the boat, you're jumping the train of, hurting the institution that you're leaving to go to a new one. So I talked to some coaches, and they're saying, hopefully the NCAA does a revamp on how kids are able to jump and move and pass through, because once again, it's not always going to hurt the top institutions. It's going to hurt HBCU students in schools because of the low numbers. With a low number, if I have a high matriculation with a low number, it hits harder than a team or a school with a bunch of numbers or a bunch of scholarships that are moving and shifting, and they're retaining and stuff like that. So hopefully the NCAA does the right thing, passes some things that help the transfer portal kind of be more, instead of a wild, wild west type of field, there has some parameters on it. But I want to be let me go back to this BOLO list. Be on the lookout. All right. Be on the lookout. Yes, you do. You're 2021. Go look at the NCAA. Yes, you do. You have an 895. Now the average, I want to be very clear. This is not their average. This is 2020 to 2021, their APR score as of right now. As of right now, this is a year, not an average. I'll say it again. This is year, not an average. This is what they did last year. Okay? Just want to make that very clear. So they need to be on the word. They need to be on the lookout for what that is going on. And what's going on. They are looking at the average. Got it. Listen. Let me help you guys out. Let me help you Bammers out. Cause y'all think look, listen, man. Y'all how do you build an average? I knew I should have made a graphic. Because I knew there was gonna be some Bammers who don't understand math. Math is built off of averages of your numbers. If you take a test and you have a class and you've got 5 tests, right? And the teacher tells you to throw away a test so it increases your average, that's what that does. That 895 brings your average down. So for everybody out there, for all the no shit Sherlocks, this is not your average, but it brings your average down. That means on the flip side, you have to have higher scores to make it work. Jesus freaking Christ. It's not that hard. Know some of y'all had a hard time in Math 101, but average is all the scores over the number. And that's your, come on, man. Come on. What are you doing? Stop. God, Jesus freaking Christ. Gotta break down an average for y'all. That's my point. Thank you, Yard Talk. Thank you so much. You have to dang near be perfect to balance out that 895 or that 904. Let's not play these games. We know what the average is. Shut up. Jesus Christ. Whew, Lord have mercy. But anyway, if you would like to call in, say your little 2 cents, talk smack about fam, I do not care. 516-259-9041. 516-259-9041. This was FAMU's average to get a 901. All right, I flipped these 2 numbers back. Did I flip these 2 numbers aside? I think I might have did some dyslexic type stuff. This is the last 4 years of FAMU to get a 901, right? That's what they scored the last 4 to get whatever they got. So that's your example for that. But this is what I was saying. I'm saying, hey, these schools need to be on the lookout. 8181, you live. Talk to me.
Hey, Scotty. Appreciate for what you do. Just wanted to give a little context. I'm a former academic counselor at a Power 5 and an HBCU. And so, as you mentioned, it's really nuanced. And what hurts HBCUs in this so much is just the lack of resources and personnel. For instance, academically, at most HBCUs, you only really had 2 to 3 academic counselors that are overseeing and managing academics, which is extremely difficult because it's hard to keep up with your students' work. So at PWIs, the big difference is there's 30 academic counselors and in-house tutoring, things that make sure students are on track, even weekend tutoring. HBCUs, we don't have that. It's you go to the tutors and advisors that the rest of campus has. So that's an issue. Transfer portal, that is something that's hurting HBCUs and APR, but APR was suffering before the transfer portal. And it's even nuanced because even if a student leaves, you have to have a certain GPA to be eligible, whether you drop down to JUCO or 4-year. So those things hurt HBCUs. And then the other thing is, which a lot of people don't want to talk about, is that a lot of HBCUs, especially in athletics, we have a lot of underprepared students. So if you already have a lack of resources, you don't really have the personnel to tutor students from a subject to subject matter, you don't really have student personnel to manage how everyone's doing, and then you have students that either don't care or really aren't that prepared, it's a recipe for disaster. And that's why a lot of HBCUs and SCS schools are in this predicament. So I don't work at one anymore, and I know I'm getting long, but just to give you an example, my last job, I managed half of the football team academics, all the women's basketball, all the golf, and track and field. That's 120 students plus for one person, and you don't have access to grades or reports from professors hardly. So from that standpoint, which is academics, is what the APR is about. That's why a lot of HBCUs are continuously in that place, because the resources aren't there. PWIs, like the one I worked at, have all the money because they're making it off of those kids. And you can do things like, for me, I had students that had tutoring on Sundays, for an example, because we had the resource to hire our own in-house. So just wanted to give that little context that, yes, transfer portal hurts it, but it really comes down to academics and then lack of personnel and resources to manage how students are doing and report that properly.
Ask you a question?
So thank you again for what you do.
No. Let me ask you, let me ask you a question. To help with the resources, should HBCUs kind of recycle their own, have their own in-house tutoring with own students? Would that help, using more student aides or graduate assistants, or, is there a way that they can use, their own student force or their student body to kind of, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
You can, but it all depends on the HBCU and the resources you have. Because even in my institution, the last one I worked at, a certain coaching program had brought up the fact like, hey, what if we just funded it ourselves? Which you could do, but if you don't have the resource to do that for everyone, that's an issue. And then also, if we start hiring people in-house in certain ways, then it may look a little suspect. Like, are you trying to hire certain people that are going to help or give them extra unwanted, unearned help? So, yeah, we do need it. But those PWIs are able to have that money because they're making money off contracts, bowl games, stuff like that. We aren't making that type of money. So we could do it. It's just Black people, we got to invest our resources more properly.
Ooh.
That's all it comes down to me.
That is, man, one person for 120 kids. Like, was there not
yes?
Was there not a digital way? It's just so much technology nowadays.
So yes and no, and it depends on what school you're at. So, for instance, at the PWI I worked at, we had observer access to go into a system called Canvas. That's a system which is just like Blackboard, where students have their assignments and grades and communicate with professors. Mm-hmm. At the PWI, I had access to go in there 24/7, see everything, see grades and all. The HBCU I worked at, we did not have that type of system, and we didn't have observer access. So when I had to see students' grades, it had to be a physical sit-down meeting, or let's meet on Zoom and you log in and show me everything. Because the NCAA and conference rules is I'm not supposed to have access to your passwords to go in and look at it myself. So it's kind of like Christmas, what I would say for Thanksgiving. It's kind of, I would say this. When grades come out, it's like Christmas. You don't know what you're going to get unless professors have been updating you and you've been having constant reports and communication. But sometimes you just don't have that, especially when you're dealing with the sports that are a little more riskier, like a football, a basketball, a track and field.
Man,
so, yeah, and even when I was there, it was only 2 of us to our 243 students. And usually on average, like I said, you may see 3, maybe 4 people. A lot of the times ADs at HBCUs may help, or director, like even my director of my last school. Directors aren't supposed to be meeting with students one-on-one in the student athletic academic space. My director had the same amount of students as me advising, and he had directorial duties just for the simple fact we didn't have anybody else. We were short a person. So, and that's a common thing at a lot of HBCUs.
Bro, like I am feeling for you. Like I feel stressed out when you're telling the story. So I can only imagine being in this situation. God bless you, sir. Oh my God, like for real, like that takes a different type of person to stick that out and deal with. That's tough.
Yeah, and I'm not in that position anymore. I've since transitioned on to other things, but definitely I can talk to you off here and tell you a little bit more about it. But it's really, it's very nuanced and it's very encompassing. It's a combination of students not doing what they need to do. How do we properly monitor this? And then there is this thing called the transfer portal. There's this thing called you being ineligible. knowing you're dealing with the first generation population, like a lot of HBCU student athletes are, there's a lot of life circumstances that come into play. Some of them got kids already. Yeah. So it's a lot of external factors that are in your control and also, more importantly, out of your control that impact APR.
All right,
and I personally think it's.
Go ahead. Finish, please.
I'm sorry.
No, please.
No,
finish.
I was just going to say, I personally think it's a way for the NCAA to weed out HBCUs out of the NCAA system, because it's one of those things, when you set it up this way, you know the intended outcome. So it's kind of like how the system's set up. We have desired outcomes for the black folks, and it's not for y'all to win and succeed.
Let me ask you this. How I talked to one coach, and the coach said that the year marks, like if it wasn't COVID and you were under the 930, that the NCAA could come down on you in that without the average, because what he was telling me was that you have a choice to take the multi-year average. If you have a bad year, you have the choice at that point in time to take a multi-year average, or you deal with, your score at that time and things like that. Is that true? Or because people I'm hearing it from two different things. I'm hearing one side is that it's only about average.
So that one,
yeah.
So that one, I'm not entirely 100% on, so I don't want to misspeak for anybody that's listening. But all I know is that before COVID, before the transfer portal, APR was already a huge issue with HBCUs. So if anything, like everything else in Black America, everybody else got a cold, we got the flu. So it really just exasperated and made our issues worse, because we already had kids not doing well academically. We already had kids dropping out of school. Now we got the transfer portal. You don't like it, you gone. Like, I know just from the last school I went to, being 2 programs, the entire basketball roster, 14 out of 16 of those girls were brand new from the team on the team I was advising. They had never been in that institution. That was a combination of grad transfer, regular 4-year transfers, and 4 high school students. The football team I was working with, brand new coaching staff. There's probably, when I was there, about a handful of kids who left. Since I've been gone in 3 months, I've known 4 or 5 kids that have transferred already.
Wow.
So it's just one of them things. Now that these kids have these more options, they're really utilizing it. And then a lot of them don't know, just because you go in the portal doesn't mean you come out. And here's the other thing that a lot of people don't know. Coaches, yes, they really are high on APR because it affects recruiting. It affects
scholarships,
how many scholarships you can have, practice time, all of that. But the other part that they don't want you to know is coaches are incentivized financially, because if a coach gets a certain APR score, they could get X amount of more $1,000 in a bonus. Academic professionals don't get that. The students don't get that. The coach gets that. And the coach ain't got nothing to do with academics. So that's another reason why coaches be really high on kids being eligible, is because they get more money on the back end. A lot of folks just don't know that. But you can go look up public contracts and see that too.
Wow. Listen,
and it's like that. It's HBCUs and non-PWIs too. So, but thank you again. Just want to give folks that context. And thank you again for all the support and love you show us, HBCUs.
Oh, man, thank you so much for the call. I really appreciate it. And I wrote your number down. I'm going to text you after the show.
All right, man. All right. Appreciate it.
No problem. Peace. Man, listen. That was insightful. Man, I appreciate people like that call in, who have some expertise in the matter and give you guys the knowledge, just like I'm learning as well. That resources, man, when people say you do more with less, that is freaking amazing. It really is. And I 120 people for one person, and you have to sit down individually and meet with them to talk about their grades. You have Fortune 500 companies that are no longer going back into the workforce, and everything is done digitally or virtually. And I gotta sit down with you, Bamas, and see your grades. That's crazy. That's absolutely. And also, if people didn't know, APR scores do follow coaches. So I just want to make that very clear. So if your coach has a great APR or bad APR, it will follow him. It really, really will follow him. Dre, I'm coming to you. All right, what's up, Dre?
Hey, what's up, man? Hey, I figured I'd ask a question. You may or may not know, just wanted to get your opinion. So you see fam they basically have a history. 4 or 5 years, and then in the MEAC, you know, they've had their problems also. You think that's a president's problem? You think that's an AD's problem? Or you think that's a coach's problem? Because I saw the list of 1 year. Anybody can have a bad year. It's just like in regular athletics. You know, you may average 20 for 1 year, or we'll use the finals. Steph had a bad game, you know, but he's been good the whole finals. 4 or 5 years sounds like a pattern. You think, once again, you think that's a president's problem? Because we know athletics, for good or bad, it stops at the top. So you think that's the president's problem? You think that's more of an AD's problem? Or you think that's the coach's problem?
Well, when I'm reading that article by Mr. Vaughn Wilson. I think he said the highest APR FAMU has ever had was in the past. I think about past 5 or 10 years was 950 by somebody named Wood or Roy Wood or Roy whatever, somebody, whatever his name was as that coach. So clearly they have a problem of keeping a high APR. It's so many little nuances, as the man spoke on, that kind of factor into, you know, how APR is judged or how it gets brought up when it comes to football. I don't want to blame it on one individual person, but I think it's a lack of cohesion between the ADs and the president.
The president, yeah.
That's my thing, because you go through AD so much that there's no streamlined process of how we're going to keep compliance at APR at a certain level, and then you get a new AD who has to deal with the old AD, then you get a new AD who has to deal with the old AD and the old AD. You see what I'm saying? So now you're just you're building a process that never gets straightened out.
And then every AD has their own way of wanting to do this.
Exactly.
So you got one AD who did it this way.
Exactly.
They're like, you know what? I'm gonna come in. Nah, we're not gonna do it this way. We're gonna do it this way. And you know, to me, it's like the president's been the only constant. Because as good as FAMU is academically, on the academic side, you would think that some of it would go to the football team, or you know, some of it would go to the athletics team. So. Like I said, I just figured out, you know, get your input on, because for multiple years, I mean, the 1 year, I'm not really worried about the teams that will have one bad year. I think that can happen to anybody, you know, but multiple years.
No, see, the thing with, and once again, this isn't the reason I want to bring up these scores, is because it actually affects your recruiting in football. Like, people don't understand that. If I have a low APR year, then I can't do certain things my next year, because I have to take in consideration of what I did last year of having a 901, a 902, a 910. So it changes up the way you recruit. You might go after more high school players. You might go after more grad transfers. Like, you can't go get those edgy, you know, in between type players, because
you can't get the you know, they on the fringe.
I can't take those same risks because of what my APR was the last year. So it actually does affect your recruiting and things like that. So I just want to let people know the full story. But going back to your AD thing, and the processes, even in the military, is we have this thing called a continuity book, right? So it's something that where I come in, if I came into a new duty station, I could look over the continuity book of what systems were already in place to see, how do I get caught? How do I get into the workflow of this position? And then anything else I wanted to tweak, you know what I'm saying? I tweak it. I just add to it, but you never take away, because it's been working. So that's the thing that FAMU lacks. If I keep having ADs, you know what I'm saying, and you keep there's no continuity. It's just, there's nobody you can say, hey, this is the standard. We had this AD. He had us at 950 for the last 4 or 5 years. This was the standard. We're going to go by this. You see what I'm saying? So it's those little things like that.
Yeah. I clearly hope they get that handle for multiple years. That's sad, to be honest. It just is. I mean, don't know who to blame, you know, but it's very much sad. I hope they get out together.
Yeah, hopefully they get it together. Real talk. Hey, man, appreciate the call.
Appreciate it.
Hey, Mr. Campbell, I had it coming to you. Hey, what's up, Mr. Campbell? You live?
You can hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I had to call in with the old head. What have I been preaching? Resources, resources, resources. Give us our $1 billion, you wouldn't have this. This is what I keep saying. See, this is a direct result of why I hate when people say, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You can only do so much, just like that young man that called in, that brother called in. You give me my $1 billion, I'll have 6 academic advisors. You give me my $1 billion, I will have tutors that I can pay. So here's the thing, and I'm going to speak about FAMU. And let's understand what the APR is. It's about graduation rate.
Yeah.
This happens to not GPA, graduation rate. And this happens to teams that are in flux all the time. You show me a bad team, I'll show you a bad APR. Because you know what happens? You have people that are not good academically. You have kids that transfer out. You have kids that are not academically ready. So guess what? You have a low APR. So look at FAMU. Now you go look at FAMU's record on each one of those APR years. I guarantee you, 1 in 10, 3 in this, 3 in that, blah, 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 blah. Go look. It is a direct correlation because of the leadership at the top failed. From the AD, which again, more ADs in future have baby mamas. The amount of coaches we've had that were failures. So this sits right there. And this has always been the craziest thing that anybody that loves FAMU and again, that loves sports like me, it is a total disconnect to the academic prowess on that campus to our sports. We should be dominant in everything because honestly, we're in the biggest state in the Southeast. We should have the most resources. We should have the best players. It works out academically. It does not work athletically. And this is a failure FAMU at the top. This ain't got nothing to do with anything else. This is on the coach and on the AD and then on to the president. That's what this is all about. So yes, do we need the money? 100%. Because that's the, and I give credit to all of these schools that have hit this APR target. I give no credit to the ones that have made it because they're making it with less. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you this too, and I'm going to go to Deion's point. And if everybody remembers that, and I think there's a direct correlation to Jackson State's low APR during those years. He went in there and said, oh, y'all got to go because ain't none of y'all going to class anyway. Remember that? In his docuseries, the first season, he said that. You guys don't, why are you're not even going to class. So let's get rid of all of you all. So this also, and look at what Jackson State was then. 4-8, 3-7, 2-3 in this. See?
But
you get people that are more committed.
I disagree. I have to disagree with you because every year before this 2020 year, they actually led the SWAC in APR. They actually had the highest. They actually
that's good. Okay, yeah. Well, fine. I'm not going to argue that. No. Yeah. I'm not going to argue your facts.
Yeah.
So no problem. Okay, good. We're good for Jackson State. But I'm just talking about that year. I know that's what he said, which correlates to the 895. So that's the only reason why I'm pointing that out because he said that. Because I don't think, because Jackson State's APR under Deion is higher than that. What this last year?
That's 895.
That's 895 for this. So what is this Jackson State people are posting about? Talking about they got a 960 something or 950. What is that in the HBCU game day?
Oh, that's the average. Their average is.
Oh, they're rolling average.
So their last 4 years is a 950 or 960 as their average because their other 3 scores are like 989. Let me 989, 982, 946. Those are their last 3 years. 989, 982, 946, and then this year with Deion is at 895.
Okay, but wait a minute. This is 2020 and 2021, correct?
Yes.
So this was the COVID year.
Yeah, the spring year.
Right?
The spring year.
Spring.
Yeah.
Spring year. Okay. So the spring. All right. So here's what I will say too. And no defense on this, but I'm going to say this overall because I got a lot of people down in academics. You go look at the high school graduation rate during COVID. It was one of the lowest in the last 50 years. You had cities like Philadelphia, New York, where 70% of the kids were not even logging on to go to school during COVID. So there is some correlation of these kids going virtual. And remind you, because let's think about this, what the young man that called in and said. So now the kids are going virtual. He already said there's no monitoring if you're there in person.
Yeah.
So who's monitoring these kids that's doing virtual? Nobody. Which correlates also to, again, there are documented things all over these high schools where these kids were not logging on for whatever reason, which then goes back to another thing, the digital divide. So if you're at home and some of these kids come from poor backgrounds, what's their internet status? Do they have a strong internet? All these things that go on. So I'm not making an excuse, but I do want to point that out. So these are the things that, that's kind of aggravating. It's kind of disappointing. But I think overall, this is the reason why I love this show, because these are things that are brought attention. But FAMU especially, there's no excuse for FAMU to ever be on this list. But again, it looks directly, and like I said, I'm not taking that out. Let's talk about FAMU. FAMU has been failing at this for the last 7 years until Willie Simmons got there. So I'm curious to see what Willie's rolling average will be because this is what, year 4 for Willie?
Yeah, so he's part of the 923, 931, 90. I could have sworn I don't know if I switched those scores up. I think I did, but he's part of those last two. So
last three.
So the 923, 931, 901. Those are his scores.
Those are his scores. Okay. So yeah, so that's the thing. But I just want to stick on what I've always said, and this cannot be denied. When you are underfunded year in and year out, and then you're held to this standard that the white man has done to us, you have the same standard we got, but then you put all the roadblocks in front of me, it's not fair. Now, we deal with it every day. So I'm not crying spill milk, but I got to point it out. Give me my $1 billion. We don't have any of these academic issues, period. Give me my money, man. That's all I got.
No problem, Mr. Campbell. Appreciate the call as always. That's fair. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? If you're owed money and you need it, to do what you need to do to be the best that you can be, you know what I'm saying? Everybody wants their money. Let's not act like, if you worked a job for a year and they never paid you, you know what I'm saying? Where could you have been? If you work a job for a year and they never pay you, you're going to be like, bro, you know where I could have a car payment if you was paying me. I could have a nice house if you was paying me. I could even take a shower if you was paying me. So listen, guys. The average for Jackson State's APR is 950. Okay? Let me say it for people in the back. Okay, it's 950. Their score for 2021 is 895. That means if you know what an average is, I knew I should have made the graphic for average. You take all the scores, right? So listen, I want to be very clear. Their Jackson State's, because people, y'all Alabama's is slow. All right, for 2015 to 2016, Jackson State has a 989, right? That will fall off. Okay? That's how that works. So your 889 falls off, and then it gets replaced with your 2022, 2023. That's how that works. That's why I'm telling you to be on the lookout. Okay? You need to be worried about your numbers. That's how an average works. Some of you guys did not pass math class. What's up, JB? Talk to me.
Nothing much, Scotty. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Talk to me.
Okay, bro. Okay, I caught the tail end of what Mr. Campbell was talking about. Because I mentioned the high school stuff. Let me say this also. For the last several years, I worked for a school district here in Houston, where I'm from, in which I was actually working like the main central office area. And I actually taught, because we had a teacher shortage too, I actually taught some of the online classes. And what he said about trying to get kids to log on, that is 100% fact. We had issues getting kids to log in, and we was giving them free hotspots and laptops. The kids were just not logging in. And so what happened is that if that's at the high school level, I wonder what's going to happen in universities too if that kind of oversight doesn't exist. So I just want to put that part out there. But then the other thing too, and of course I know she mentioned this now because I just called into the show just now. This is just I think just joined. Of course you've covered this now. Please forgive me. I don't want to repeat anything.
No, you're good.
A lot of these other schools have entire departments covered, or should I say, dedicated to APR, like scores and issues and stuff like that. Most of the smaller schools only have maybe one person, maybe two. So there's going to be a lot of things that the smaller schools miss because they don't have the manpower to keep up, which say some of the bigger schools do. This is why you don't see bigger schools get on this kind of probation trouble, because they have resources in place dedicated to that institution, that part of it alone. So that's kind of just I guess kind of proof in terms of why we struggle a little bit with these things, because of just plain manpower,
Yeah, another guy called in and said the same exact thing. No lie, he said he worked at a HBCU and it was him watching over 120 kids. He's like, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous.
I didn't cut you off. You were saying?
That was it. I said it's ridiculous. But hey, JB, call me back in like 5 minutes. I gotta explain something to these Bamas in the comments, and call me back in like 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
All right, yeah, 5 minutes, so I can explain this real quick. All right, listen, for all you Bamas, am I stuff glitching? Am my stuff? Ooh, y'all, am I still glitching? I am a little bit. Dang it. All right, we back. All right, close enough. Hey, listen, for all you Bamas in the comments who don't know how to work an internet, let me show you how this works, because y'all Bamas is dumb. All right, so window, I'm going to open this up for you. I'm going to blow this up for you Bamas. All right, I'm going to zoom in for you Bamas. It says right here, Jackson State, multi-year rate. What does that say? 950. Right? 950 is the multi-year rate. See that? Reading is fundamental. Okay? Fundamental. If HBCU Game Day would tell the full story, if you actually click on the school's name, right, and you go down and you zoom into the actual year, let me help you guys, because you once again, Bamas don't want to read. What does that say right here? Right here. What does that say? Football, multi-year, 950. 2021, 895. Let me zoom in some more so you bet. 895 for the year. For the individual year. That's how you build a multi-year average. For all you Bamas in the back who don't know how to do math. Jesus freaking Christ. You gotta like walk y'all Bamas hand in hand just to understand some crap. Jesus freaking Christ. All right, she said, now FAMU, I will be more than happy to. You know me, ain't no picking and choosing over here. So we down here in the, let me see where we go. The multi-year for FAM is 901, okay? If you click on the individual school and I zoom in, their 20 APR, wow, 868. Okay, 868. Them Bamas is in trouble too. So, once again, get your stuff together. Splat out. There you go. Coach Green, what's up?
What's up, man? Hey, good story. I'm actually happy you did the story on this junk, man. Because, for one, the NCAA is actually getting sued by a couple of students that went to HBCUs about discriminatory practice of this APR.
Oh, that's real. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. Because they had some athletes missed out on postseason because of this. And if you really look at it, bro, it really is. It's a disadvantage to the HBCU for how they got it set up. Because, one of the cars talked about the having the manpower to do that part. And it's a lot to it, bro. And they need to fix this because it's actually unfair to all the HBCUs. Because, like one of the stories talking about, you take a look at, say, University of Alabama.
All right, hold on. Let me. Go ahead. Do your thing real quick. Go ahead.
Yeah, University of Alabama, they got half white, half black players, right?
Mm-hmm.
They half and half, right? So the black players' graduation rate is very low, but the white players on their team is high, so it makes up for all the black players. And then plus they got the staffing numbers to back up anything they need to fix. They got the staff that our HBCUs don't because of the lack of funding, especially by how the states do our HBCUs. Because some of our states need to go to court with our states. Some of our HBCUs need to go to court with our public HBCUs need to go to court because what some of these states are doing is terrible.
Facts.
Because I saw the numbers for what Florida just had some numbers that got a budget that just got approved, and Florida State getting this much money, but bam, you get little.
No, I agree. When it comes to state funding, it's crazy because from what I was told, it's from, I don't know if Mr. Campbell said it or somebody else from FAMU or in the Florida district said it's the funding is based off the graduation rate of the kids or how many kids. But FAMU could never be as high as a Florida State or Florida because they're not allowed to have that many students. So now you're getting in the nuance. Yeah, you're so the state restricts you from increasing your students. That would help your graduation rate so you could get more funding from the state. And then on the flip side, you get mad. It's crazy.
Yeah. If you look at you just got to look at each state, man. You look at each state. Take Mississippi for instance. I'm in Mississippi, and what they have done to Valley, Jackson, Alcorn is terrible. Terrible. And they getting away with murder for what they doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was so happy that Maryland won that lawsuit. Maryland HBCUs won that lawsuit. You got Tennessee State about to try to win their lawsuit, which I hope they do. That junk is crazy. All these PWIs using dirty tricks to get past the APR. Because you gotta really, because somebody broke it down. I was reading. Somebody really broke it down when it was sitting there. Alabama, Georgia. Shoot, Georgia had a higher graduation rate in black players than Alabama, and that was low.
So how do you So my thing is, because we also got to come up with a solution. What would you say your process would be? You're in it. You're in the college sports arena. So how would you base the system of APR? Because what the NCAA doesn't want to do is just give people the free rein to just kick people out of school without it being a hindrance. But then how does the HBCU aspect come into play?
They gotta make it fair for us because majority of our students are people of color.
Mm-hmm.
So they gotta make it fair. Because one thing I can say about our HBCUs, we will push for you to graduate. We're going to do everything we can to help you graduate. PWI, they're going to just let you walk away and be like, hey, appreciate all the hard years of work that you did for me on the football field, but hey, thank you. But us, we trying to sit there. So you be at your house and an old coach will call you up, hey, you got 3 more classes to graduate. Come back to school and finish.
Mm-hmm.
That's the type of stuff we do. We got coaches, like I can say for myself, we sitting there looking at our players' transcript, be like, hey, you got this many credits left. And then when it comes to our classes, you're not treated as a number. They treat it as a number at these universities, man. You either a number or you an athlete. You just an athlete.
But
but when you're not playing for us,
go ahead.
F you.
You're making okay. So
F you.
But think about it like this, though, Coach. You're making a cultural thing, a statistical thing. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to ask you. Hold on, wait. I'm trying to ask you, what does the NCAA need? What does the NCAA need to do in regards to focus on HBCUs, and how can they make it fair for them? Because you're telling me, we don't look at you as a number, but the NCAA doesn't care about that. The NCAA is going to look at you like, if you were in a meeting room, if you went to the NCAA council, what would you tell the NCAA council? Hey, for HBCUs to be a fair process in APR, you need to do this.
Well, all that I say, I don't know as far as like how to make it fair. I don't have a wholeheartedly understanding of how to do that.
Got you. Okay, that's fair.
I would have to ask somebody like Mr. Campbell or somebody that probably have a little bit more understanding of it.
Okay.
But all I know is it needs to be fair.
That's fair. Okay, that's real.
I understand it's not fair.
That's real. Hey, Coach Green, I appreciate the call as always, man.
All right,
peace. That's the thing. See, that's the thing. You gotta have. Listen, you cannot go to a council, right? You can't go to a NCAA meeting and say, hey, we like our kids more than PWIs. That's not possible. I don't care. I don't care that you like your kids more than a PWI. I don't care that you care about black kids more than you do PWIs. That has no statistic. I can't make a rule off of that. So there would have to be a system in place to say, hey, for HBCUs, we will look at APRs and we will grade APRs off this scale. For PWIs and whatever else, we'll grade them off this scale. But to have it graded off a certain scale, you have to have requirements on that scale. You see what I'm saying? So there has to be something to say, hey, listen, we'll do half instead of it being a full point. So good example, right? So if a kid leaves and he's ineligible, that's 1 point on retention, I believe, and 1 point on eligibility, right? So instead of it being a full point, maybe the NCAA for HBCUs makes it a half a point. You see what I'm saying? Like, you have to come up with stuff like that. That's how this process works. All right. I'm gonna go to Bobby because I know he's a school guy. Hey, what's up, Bobby? Talk to me.
What's going on, man? I'm gonna do my best to explain it. I don't work in athletics, but I have a great understanding of the problem with not just HBCUs, but just small schools in general.
Mm-hmm.
Is everybody's on the exact same system with the exact same math, but everybody's not working with the exact same numbers. If you get what I'm saying. So a student with bad grades at Alabama or Georgia or LSU or any Division 1A school has they have more players on their team. So if you have 1 or 2 players with bad grades, it doesn't hurt the average of the team as much.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you got 63 and they got 85 or whatever.
Grades,
yeah.
Right. If you have 10 grades versus 7 grades, if you get an F, that F hurts that person with 7 grades more than it hurts the person with 10 grades.
Absolutely.
So the only way they're going to be able to make it fair is if they adjust the APR based on the division in which the schools are in.
Okay, Mr. Bobby, what about this though? Because then what HBCU people are going to say, well, there's a lot more circumstances. Like my kids are coming and listen, I want to be very clear. Nobody's being disrespectful to the kids that are coming in, but let's be realistic. A lot of the kids are coming from low income, you know what I'm saying, single parent households. Somebody have a kid already.
Right.
Those are just some factors that HBCUs have to deal with more than PWIs, because I know at least about 2 or 3 kids that came out of my class that had a kid, and the school was like, yo, we'll put you up in an apartment at a PWI. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were so good in sports. They're like, bro, hey, we'll put you in an apartment. Hey, you can bring your daughter. A lot of schools aren't giving those same opportunities to HBCUs. So my thing is, how do you go from there?
So the next truth is all the schools are recruiting the same kids. Now, the thing about it is where these athletes are electing to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all the black kids are coming out of similar situations in a lot of cases. You know what I mean? So you can't really say that, you know, it's the circumstance, because I bet you it's the same circumstances at almost every school. It's the difference in the fact that I can have 5 of these people, 5 of this style player, or 5 or 10 of these players. And if you try to have 5 or 10 of these type players and they don't do well in school, your APR is going to be ruined because of it. And you won't have enough scholarships on the back end to cover for those players. You get what I'm saying?
That's fair. Mm-hmm.
They're able to hide their dents and scratches underneath the wrap, where a small school isn't able to do that.
Let me ask you this, and I'm gonna ask you this, but I'm gonna let you go because a lot of callers on the call line. But I'm gonna ask you this. I'm gonna ask every other caller on theirs. There's over 130, I believe. There's over 130 FCS schools. You have what?
Mm-hmm.
8 in the MEAC that do football, 12 in the SWAC. That's 20 schools. So why should the NCAA change their rules for 20 schools?
They shouldn't change for 20 schools. They should change it for the entire FCS.
For the entire FCS. Okay.
In my opinion.
No, I know, because Paris said the same thing. She said they need to do something for the all FCS schools. So you're not the only one that feels that way.
All right, bro.
All right, man. Peace.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to JB because I told JB I'll be back with him. Hey, JB, you live.
What's up, Scott? Okay, so I wanted to call you back in about 5 minutes. What's on your mind, man? So you wanted to address something in the chat that was being discussed?
Yeah, because Bama's when they didn't know how to do math right, so I had to show them what an average was. But I wanted you to call back because I wanted you to finish your point.
Okay, sure, no problem with that. And then something else also, something to think about too. 2 things. One, of course, I know Coach Green caused a lot of comments and stuff. We got it, so folks. I love us. We got to stop comparing ourselves to what the P5 programs do in terms of resources. They have resources that most FCS schools can't even dream of, so it's not the same. But then there's something else I want to discuss also, and this is something that I don't think anyone's talking about. A lot of HBCUs, I think within the last 10 years or so, they have discussed raising admission requirements. And see, this is something that I don't think people have maybe discussed as yet. Of course, maybe they have. Of course, I chimed in late. What ends up happening sometimes is that not only do we have less of resources, but the mission of the HBCU, we tend to take chances on the students who might not be able to go anywhere else, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say you're bringing in a student who may not be the best test taker or may not be the best from a GPA perspective. You admit him, you put him in some of these other classes that may not affect your overall like APR, stuff like that, etc. So what ends up happening is that even though we're giving kids more chances, you're also taking kids in who are more of an academic risk to your APR because they're not maybe as strong academically as some of the other students per se.
That's fair.
So that's point number one. And then also, when we talked about raising the GPA requirement to get in, a lot of HBCU folks went crazy. They're like, "Oh my goodness, why are you doing this? You're taking on the mission of school and whatnot." You still have Scotty. There's still a lot of fans out there who don't understand that who you let in is going to affect you in one way or the other. And see, the last point I wanted to make was, and this is something that I said yesterday about the voting with the purse. When you have people that give money, the things you give money to could affect things like having resources in place to combat APR stuff, which once again goes to yesterday's topic, talking about the schools need to get their stuff together, because it's not just about giving money for athletics, it's about giving stuff for infrastructure too. And APR stuff, and I'm glad you're talking about this today, all of that is connected in some way. And Mr. Campbell said it earlier, this is on the FAMU's issues, is on the AD, on the coach, and on the president. That's not an NCAA problem. That's an internal issue. And of course, you also mentioned yesterday's show also the fact that it's like if FAMU don't get their AD stuff together, they're going to stop giving money. Guess what? The money they cut back on giving, that's going to affect things like your APR and have resources to combat this.
Yep. No, you preaching.
That was all I had to mention.
You preach, AJB, you preaching, man. Listen, you can't. It's like this, man. It's like, if I lower the bar for you, understand what lowering the bar does. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be, listen, you can't make, everybody is not the exception. Some people are a rule. So yes, I might lower the bar for you, and then you come in and you excel. By all means, great. Yes. Oh, you're awesome. And then I can also lower the bar, and you could just do the bare minimum or not do it at all. You see what I'm saying? So it hits on both ways. People always like to look on the bright side, like, but how many kids have we helped? And you're absolutely right. But then also, how many kids have you allowed to come in your institution and have either dropped out or say, no, this ain't for me or whatever? So it goes both ways. You just have to be able to receive both ways. But hey, Coach Green wants to get on this call with you for a little bit. Hey, Coach Green, don't be coming on here with no foolishness real quick.
Yeah, please don't stop me, man. I have a headache, man.
Hey, go ahead, Coach Green.
Hey, I don't care about your headache, man.
Oh, damn,
anyway,
okay.
Nah, listen, bro. For starters, see, you're going to sit there and say that, but all schools let in, because it's a lot of kids that went to Alabama that really don't supposed to be in Alabama, but they let them in there, and people doing the work for them. But as at our school, that's not going to happen like that. We're going to help this person do their work, and then they're going to eventually graduate. So what you say? So, but the thing is,
you just made a point, bro.
The thing is, now this is the thing you got to listen to, though. I know a student that we let in over here came in with a 1.9. And I know another student that had like a 1.5 we let in. Both of them graduated with honors. So you can't sit there and say that, oh, we don't need to let these people in because they're not going to do the work. That's not necessarily true. It's all about how you teach these kids, how you work with these kids, how you show them how to do the work. Provide them with tutoring.
Hold on, Coach Green. Let him respond, Coach Green. Go ahead, JB.
Okay, thank you for coming on. Okay, first of all, sir, Coach Green actually made my point because you mentioned Alabama. Guess what? Alabama is also a P5 FBS program. They're going to have more resources to help those kids out than, say, someone like the Southern is going to have.
Hold on, Coach Green. He let you finish. Yeah.
I'm going to let him talk. My fault. I'm going to let him talk. My fault.
They're going to have that. And then also, now we both agree that our HBCUs have fewer resources, things to work with and stuff, right? If you're bringing in kids with a 1.5 in GPA, so 1.5, 1.9, et cetera, I'm not saying to let them in. I'm saying that there is a risk for letting them in when it comes to these things. Because, look, let's not get ourselves for a second. Over the last, 5+ years, a lot of schools have had those issues with APR has been our schools. Now, what's been the common thread about this? The common thread about this one of HBCUs, and also we both know HBCUs are notorious for giving kids chances. Nothing wrong with giving kids chances. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you're giving kids chances like that, when you have a 4-year graduation rate and whatnot, and by the way, if they come in with differential grades, guess what? They're going to take those other classes to boost them up, right? Most cases, most universities, those classes that boost them up are not going to figure into your overall GPA. So even though that they're graduating, they're not graduating in 4 years, that's going to lower your 4-year graduation rate, which is what they look at.
All right. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Coach Green,
right.
You can make your point, and JB make your final point, and then we got to move on.
Sure.
All right, for starters, we did that over here at Russ. Nobody when you play sports, you're not going to be able to play with no 1.3 or 1.5 or anything like that. You can't even play. As far as D1, you can't even get in the door with that. They're going to send you to JUCO. But they're going to take the kids with a 2.3, 2.4 and up. Now, the graduation rate. I'm going to say this once again. You sit there talk about all the resources Alabama got, but at the same time, you ain't going to look at the part where all the black players don't really graduate, and their graduation rate for the black players are very low. So you can do a lot of dirty tricks with the NCAA when it comes to the P5 schools like Alabama. Just because they P5 don't mean shit. I can fool you with that when it comes to the athletic part. There's a lot of things you could do to make sure it look good on top. But if you actually sit there and start picking through it like an apple, you pick to the middle of the apple, you find a rock. And there's a rock in them PWIs. But you don't know it because it's not talked about. So the HBCU is going to continue to do what they do because majority of people going to be black. You walk on a campus, you see nothing but black people. You go to Alabama, you see nothing but white people, but you got to go to the athletic center just to find some black people.
Okay.
Ole Miss is right down the road for me. It's nobody's city.
Go ahead, JB. Go ahead. I put him on mute.
All right, Coach Green. Here's the issue, though, Coach Green. You're trying to turn a cultural perspective into an NCAA argument. If they're looking at it, if the NCAA is looking at APR stuff, they're not looking at the percentage of black kids. They're looking at percentage of student athletes, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever, and their rates. That's what they're looking at. That is their concern. And listen, I love the fact we help kids out and pass them. All of us understand that. All of us do. Everyone on this call, well, I guess who's listening to Scotty's show, great show, by the way, understands this concept. Yep. We all do. The issue is, though, is that we try to integrate the mission of the HBCU, the mission of what our schools are founded upon, into the business of college athletics. You can't, as Scotty says, it cannot be both. You can't do it. You can't have it both ways.
All right, hold on. No, wait. I'm gonna put Rocky on this call as well. Rocky said he wants to get on this call, so I'm gonna get him. Hey, Rocky, you on?
Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, I just want to add this, and I think the gentleman who has the expertise is right on the back. The APR is a function of admission policy and the institutional resources. That's what it's about. That's why you could take a coach like Art Briles, who had damn near a 900 when he was at Houston, and he could come to Baylor in 1 year and have a 950 and never drop below, because the institution and its resources and its admission policies dictate a lot of what your APR outcome is going to be. Period, man. At the end of the day, the admission policies at Baylor are higher than the admission policies at Houston. You get far less exceptions at Baylor than you do at Houston, and thus you're going to get a better outcome on the end. It's better students in, better students out. That's all it is. It's about the quality of student that you let in your institution. That's what this is about. And so when and football, right? Football at the big schools, they're gonna make sure that that program is highly resourced for the exceptions that they make in their admissions policy. That's what's going on. Period.
It's still more. It's still at the end of the day. It's still more to it. That's why you got players.
Okay, hold on.
Because at the same.
Hold on. I'm gonna let Coach Green finish. Hey, Rocky, I'm gonna let Coach Green finish. I got you on mute right now, Rocky. Go ahead, Coach Green.
You can sit there and try to separate the racial part from the NCAA, but you can't separate it. You can't separate it.
I'll ask you this, Coach Green. Let me ask you a question. What policy exists, right, within the NCAA guidelines that dictates a racial standard in recruiting or admission?
Come on.
All right. I'm going to put it to you like this. The justice system shows that. No, it don't show it, but it is. It is, right?
So my point is, so let me just put this, because what you're doing is you're convoluting the argument and bringing things into the process that is not related to academic performance. At the end of the day, the better the student, right, that comes into your institution, the more likelihood that they'll graduate. That's just common sense.
Let me put it like this. Since you keep on sitting there saying it because you acting like HBCUs don't have good quality students.
That's not what I said.
That's what I'm saying, because the way you putting it is kind of putting it like that. So you mean to tell me how many scholarships they offer? 90-something?
85.
All 90-something athletes are quality students.
So I'll tell you this.
All
so let me explain something to you.
Answer my question. It's all 90 quality.
90.
It's all Alabama. They got 90 scholarships, 95 scholarships. It's all 95 quality.
I don't know Alabama's academic standards for their football team, right?
All 95 quality.
So let me say this. Coach Green. This is what I want to say. They have their academic standards for their football team is not the same academic standards that it is for their university, right? So therefore, the SEC has decided that you're going to be able to be allowed to have so many exceptions to your admission policy. I don't know the number. I'm not sure what the SEC guidelines are. Say you get 10 exceptions per year. Say you get 10 exceptions per year, right? To the Alabama. I was just trying to explain something.
Okay, go ahead. Nah, go ahead.
Say you get 10 exceptions per year in your admissions policy at Alabama for football players, right? Over the course of 4 years, you'll have 40 players with those exceptions, right? They know who they are. They've designated who they are. And from the time they come in school, they know that they have to provide more resources for those kids. That's different than having kids that all 90 of your kids that come in school, right, are academic exceptions. Or because your school, but listen, not because the football program is giving those exceptions, it's because your admission standards of your university are lower. Do you understand what I'm saying?
All right, can I say something now?
Hold on, Coach Green. JB, go ahead, JB, and then Coach Green.
Yeah.
Go ahead, JB.
Gotcha. And Rocky, thank you so much for making this point also, because let me ask y'all something too. And of course, this actually comes up on recruiting as well. What is a coach more likely to recruit? A kid with a 2.4 GPA, barely getting in under NCAA clearinghouse rules, or a kid with a 3.4 GPA? Same talented, same 40 times, same ability, everything else. They're going to bring in the kid with a 3.4 higher GPA because they're not going to have to worry about dedicating resources to keep that kid, one, off of probation, and two, hurt your graduation requirements. Like Rocky said, if you're bringing in a higher quality of students, you're not going to have those kind of potential issues. They're not going to be there. They're just not.
All right. Can I say something now? Can I say something now?
Yeah, go ahead, Coach Green. Go ahead.
All right. You remember that incident that happened in North Carolina?
Which one?
People doing work and people work and everybody getting in this one class to get an easy A.
That's everywhere across the country. But go ahead.
Not necessarily at HBCU. That's at these big schools to make sure these players stay eligible. Hold up. To make sure these players. Yep. Make sure these players stay eligible.
Bro? You sure?
I'm gonna sit there and say it. Yep. I'm gonna sit there and say it. Yep. And to make sure these players and you talk a resource you talked about. You know what the resource is? Mm-hmm. Somebody. Oh, you gonna Sue? You gonna do Bob work? Missy. You do Billy's work.
Costs money.
That's resources. That's what you call resources, and that's not good resources. That's not good resources. So really, that student doing his work, he don't supposed to be at Baylor. So you can't sit there and talk about quality of student when that student really don't supposed to be there because he's not doing his work.
According to whom? If they got the money to pay for it to keep them, they're going to do what they can to keep them. That's
not doing their work though. They're not doing the work.
All right, guys.
So they really not quality.
But I think the argument that you're making though is that the NCAA has to have a level of academic integrity that's being measured for all students, and they're not. They don't measure academic integrity.
Exactly.
What they measure is academic performance based on what is allowed by that institution. You got to realize that certain institutions have different standards within their own academic culture, right? So like at a University of Texas, like let me give you an example. Like at a University of Texas, right? They may have a aide that goes to every class with a freshman football player to take notes, to record, you know what I'm saying? They have somebody accompanying that person the whole time through that academic day, and also hold that person accountable for making sure they get the work turned in, so on and so forth, right? That may not be the situation at Jackson State, FAMU, so on and so forth. And so what you're arguing is, and this is what you got to understand, Coach Green, these are their rules that they put forth. And if you're going to play in their system, then you have to abide by their rules. You can't ask them to make an exception for you when you are playing in their game.
Hey, appreciate the call, Rock. Appreciate the call, JB. Appreciate the call, Coach Green. Listen, all right, so this is my thing, right? And I appreciate all the guys calling in. And John Chopsticks, bro, like at the end of the day, you got to let people, you can't get everything you want to say out in the comments. It's just not realistic, all right? So you got to let people have their conversations in the conference call because that's a dope style. And it's pretty funny. You know, I'm not even gonna go there. But at the end of the day, John Chopsticks, it is what it is. I like to do that aspect on my channel. You never have to watch if you don't like it. It just is what it is. And if anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about this guy right here, John Chopsticks. All right. So listen, you have two sides of the coin, right? You have Coach Green in the argument of that. I believe it, and Coach Green, if I'm right, please, if I'm right, or in the comments or whatever. But he's saying that, PWIs are essentially finagling their numbers in certain aspect when it comes to graduation and attrition rates, especially for black players and black athletes. And then you have the JB and the Rocky side where it's like, well, hold your institution accountable for what they're allowing to come into your institution. All right. And this is my only thing. And I'm going to get to Mr. Campbell, who's on the line. Appreciate you for holding, Mr. Campbell. This is my only thing. Not everybody can be the exception. If I take on a project, or if I take on a kid that coming out of high school has a 1.9, a 2.0, or 2.1 or whatever, I have to be okay with what is going on in his matriculation to graduation, understanding he might not get right, or he could get right, but I'm okay with both sides of the coin. You have to be okay with that. You can't say we're here to help kids and then get mad or then kind of blame your APR when that same kid is not there anymore, right? So what JB and Rocky are saying is, well, if If you raise the bar to a 2.8 or 2.9 to get in, you're less likely to deal with the 2.1s and the 2.2s or people who are failing or not matriculating through your system. That's an academic thing. But at the end of the day, there are always exceptions to the rule on both sides. You can raise it to 2.9 and 2.8, and Bamas can still drop out. Bamas can still mess up. And you can have it at a 2.1 or 2.0, and you find a diamond in the rough that goes at 3.5 and 4.0. It goes both ways, but hey. What's up, Mr. Campbell? Talk to me.
Man, listen, you know I very rarely call in, but I have got to give some sanity to this discussion and some clarity. First of all, let me just say something to you, and I got to say this. I am so proud of you because these are the type of topics that need to be discussed. All that other foolishness that people talk about, this is a great conversation. So I just want to tell you, I'm proud of you, and I thank you for doing this. So listen, give me a few minutes. I'm going to be quick because I know a lot of people are calling in. I'm going to read a couple of headlines. This is not a new argument, and I'm going to end on a historical note. I sent you a link. This is an article, NCAA discriminatory APR scores, written in 2019. And this was written by the Diverse Issues of Higher Education by a woman who is named Dr. Olu, a senior policy analyst of higher education for New American Education Program. So she's identified this issue. Guess what? Washington Post. Does the NCAA unfairly punish school programs in historically black schools? Guess when this article was written? This article was written in 2015. Guess what? Anscape article. Looking at it right here. What does it say? HBCUs unfairly penalized by NC academic graduation standards. Guess when this article was written? 2016. This is not a new argument that people are pointing out the hypocrisy of this. This is the issue. And what I think we fail to realize, and I understand what Coach Bo, so I understand what JB is saying, Rocky. What Coach Green's point is, one size does not fit all. And this is what the argument has been. And I'm going to go to the DMV, and you probably may have been or may have not been born. You do know who John Thompson is, right, Scotty?
Oh, yeah, Georgetown, baby, all day, every day.
Okay. Do you understand what Coach Thompson did in the late 80s and 90s? There was a thing called Prop 48. Do you know what that was?
Nah.
Okay, let me tell you, Prop 48, this is where the APR is actually a baby from the Prop 48. So what happened was you had to have a certain SAT or ACT score, right, and a GPA. And it was on a sliding scale. So the lower your GPA was, the higher your ACT or SEC. So everybody knew, which has been proven, that the SAT and ACT were culturally biased. John Thompson said, how are you going to penalize these black kids and put a test that we know is culturally biased? He walked out. Guess what? They don't have Prop 48 anymore. They had to change that sliding scale because it was proven that it was biased. This is what people are pointing out about the APR.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yes, Alabama football players could have a higher one or them, but the resources are different. The measurements are different. And also, I'll tell you this, too, out of Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, they got 50 different sections of one class, which is what Coach Green is talking about. And you know I'm a Carolina fan because the University of North Carolina had this one section for black studies or black history or whatever that everybody wink knew that all you had to do was sign the roll and you got an A. It's very hard to do that at an HBCU because you know what? We ain't got enough money to have that many sections. You're going to run up against one of those professors at HBCU. You can't hide because we don't have that many classes to hide people. We don't have a bunch of park and recreations, dash this and dash that at an HBCU because we can't afford it, honestly. So these are the things that I want people to understand. Historically, this has been an argument against the NCAA, going all the way back to John Thompson, which was almost 40 years ago. So this is not a new argument that the NCAA applies these rules, say you guys abide by, and then don't look at the consequence or the result of what's going on. Because Florida A&M is not the same as Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
But we're judged the same way. You think FAMU has the same resources as Florida State? Absolutely not. And then going to the point of JB's point, and this is to Coach Green's point about the recruitment. So when the recruiting tree starts, guess what? We're getting the second and third tier kid, which means not as well academically and not as well athletically. That's where Coach Green is talking about taking the chance comes in at. That's his point. And I'll tell you, for everybody, all of my classmates laugh. Half of us as would not be able to even get into FAMU now. We all laugh about that shit. But because to Coach Green's point, and to many people's points, and JB's point was perfect, we take the least to make the most. If I didn't go to FAMU, I don't know where the hell I would be. I've got friends that are vice presidents at God knows companies. And you know, them some bitches barely got in there. And they from the bottom of Miami, straight hood as hell. And they were like, man, if I didn't play in the band, I wouldn't even been able to get to FAMU. Now, these boys are Fortune 500 CEOs. I mean, presidents and execs. So you cannot measure Alabama, Georgia, and their capabilities to an HBCU. And there are academic people that are saying and calling out these arguments. That's why you cannot have a one-size-fits-all. And that's what is very frustrating to me when I hear this argument, when John Thompson made this same argument 40 years ago. And he was right then, and this argument is right now. And that can't be denied. So again, yes, I want everybody to do well academically, but I also, and I think what these academic people are saying is that you got to look at the resource measurement and how does that work? Because it's not measured the same, just like the guy said. So Alabama gets good grades because they got 6 academic advisors and they got hideaway classes for kids, but Alabama State and Alabama A&M don't. See, that's not right. And that's where the hypocrisy comes in at. And that's why I get, an argument. Oh, well, it is what it is. Take it or leave. No, we don't have to take it or leave. We have to call out the unfairness of these arguments and these situations because it's always tilted unfairly to us. Always has been. And that's why I wanted to point out the John Thompson situation. So I wanted to give you your time back. Great show. Let me have some perspective.
Let me ask this quick question, Mr. Campbell, real quick. What I know you're not going to be a strong advocate of removing yourself from the NCAA because you feel basketball is a big money maker for a lot of these schools. But let's excluding basketball. Would you think there will ever be a time where HBCU say, you know what, we'll govern ourselves?
Well, see, this is the trap that the man has put out there because he's got this big honeypot out there, right? And then he also knows he can write the rule for you to even get to the honeypot. So, yes, okay, we leave. But then again, that money that we get from basketball funds a lot of the other things that we have to do. See, this is the catch-22 that we constantly fall into. But see, this goes back, and I'm sorry, I got to go back to, if you would give me my money, and then I can play on the even playing field. Then I can be part of what you're saying. Because, see, the problem is, okay, so we all leave the NCAA. And we, see, I do your own little tournament and all that. Yeah, maybe not. But I don't know how that looks financially. So I understand why we keep falling for this. I mean, but the thing about it is we have to push back. See, there's nothing wrong with pushing back with somebody treating you wrong, right? Me and you can be part of an organization, right? And we like it, but they're doing something wrong to their employees. We can say this is wrong. Things change. Look at NIL. Oh my God, you can't do that. You see how that changed, right? So changes do happen.
But see, this is the problem with, I feel like a little bit of problem with your argument. If I'm a corporation, the NCAA, and if I'm pushing down a rule to over, let's just say 300, 250 schools or whatever, and the only ones that are complaining are 20 schools, I don't have to change because
no. But you should know. Hold on. But you should listen maybe and understand it, because I'll give you a perfect example. It's more white people than black people, right? In the United States, right?
Okay.
But the black people say, hey, y'all discriminating against us. White people say, we good. What y'all complaining about? See, that's the same argument. So you can't say the minority does not have a grievance to the majority. The minority might have a grievance, and you might have to respect that. And again, going back to the Prop 48 situation, there was a grievance that this directly proportionally to black people, black players, because it was culturally biased with the ACT and SAT scores. That was the rule that the NCAA had, where you just have to hit it, deal with it. And John Thompson and those guys, academics, say, no, let me show you the numbers. This is not fair. and they changed it. So that's what I'm saying. No, the minority does have grievances. So you just can't say, because if we had just majority rule, God, bro, you wouldn't be on the station right now on YouTube. You wouldn't be living in Georgia if majority ruled on certain things. So the minority should be able to show grief, especially if people are pointing out. Because again, I'm not saying that there should not be academic requirements, but if people like that, that's what I'm using. That's what people need to go. This is not a new topic. Google it, people. You can see very high-level academic people that are talking about this issue, that have studied this and have constantly pointed out what the inequities are. And that's what I'm talking about. That's why I wanted to point out that article from this person from this think tank. They are looking at this research and saying there's a bias here. Let me show you the bias. So what do you say? Okay, forget y'all? If there's a bias, that's not fair, is it?
I just am. I get what you're saying. I do. I just feel like if your biggest gripe is with your state funding, that's the big, because you said give me my money, so that your biggest gripe is with your state
Well, see, that's the root of all evil. Exactly.
Okay, so hold on. But my second part of that is, if you're getting done wrong by, it's like Martin Luther King. Okay, the buses aren't doing us right. We're not going to ride the bus. This isn't doing us right. We're not, like, if you're not, you like, HBCUs have been so insulated in themselves that really the only thing that is even close to being a part of is the NCAA basketball tournament. That's it. That legit is it. Everything else you would happily insulate yourselves. So to me, it's like, if you can replace, because you're not going that far in the tournament, if we're being real, you might get $1 million or $2 million. So if you can literally replace that $1 million or $2 million that you get from the NCAA for the basketball tournament, why can't you separate? That's my question.
Well, no, but okay, I love that. So listen to what you just said. If you could replace that $1 million. And this is the argument that we're having right here. So exactly, I agree with you. You know what? Give me, again, if you get, see, we're beholden because we're stuck. When somebody has an angle on you, it's just like the sharecroppers. They would work all day in the fields and would just make barely enough just to pay the bills. They never gave them the resource to be a successful farmer that they did to white people, that they would come in and give them low interest loans. You've heard all of these things. So that's what your point is valid. Exactly. But if I need that $1 million, and we all know those operating budgets need that $1 million. You agree with that, right?
Absolutely.
We need that. Okay. And there is no other avenue that has yet to be identified to get that $1 million. Guess what you got to keep doing? You're stuck. And this is the perpetual cycle that we are in and year out. See, I agree with you, but see, I want you to see how it's just a cycle. It's a spin cycle. They don't give us enough to survive, and then we got to go get it, and then they treat us wrong, and then we complain about it, and then we'll go on about your business. See, we're stuck because we ain't got nowhere to go. And that's what I'm saying. It has to go back to the correct funding, because then we would have options. If we were funded correctly, to your point, we wouldn't even need the NCAA. If FAMU had that $1 billion, do you think they would care about $1 million? Because you got to understand something, too, real quick about money. If we had our $1 billion, and this $1 billion goes back historically, almost 100 years, what do you think the interest would be on that $1 billion now? Right?
That's a good point. It'll probably be $2 billion or $3 billion.
It's a compounding problem.
Yeah.
Because if $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow to all my financial folks. Y'all know that. I tell you what, Scott, if anybody else pays you, you always want your money up front. Because if you put it in the bank today, it'll be worth more than tomorrow or 2 weeks from now. So if you haven't given me my money over 75, 80 years,
the compounding
and I've never
interest
been able
on it,
to draw the interest like Harvard. Look at Harvard and down. You go look at Harvard and down what they probably earned over the last 200 years on interest alone. Give me that same money. Look at what I would make. See, that's the thing about it. $1 billion in the bank would make me $1 million a month, just on interest alone.
Yeah.
So there go your $1 million that you said. You think I need to have something done played in? No, I wouldn't. And that's the thing. But they know that. And that's the trap that they keep letting us in, because they want that control. See, this is also about control, too. Because, again, and I got to expand this story. If you give Jackson State $1 billion, you give Florida A&M $1 billion, you give Grambling $1 billion, you give Southern $1 billion, guess what? All of a sudden, you're knocking up against Alabama, LSU, and Florida State. And then you could pay Travis $1 million. You see how that works?
Mm-hmm.
So it's all bigger than this, man. It's all connected. So that's why I wanted to point that out, because people are acting like this has not been studied and been pointed out as inequities against us. And this, again, goes back to John Thompson. So that's why I wanted to get a historical perspective. So, man, I appreciate your show, man. I love you for this show.
Hey, no problem, Mr. Campbell. Appreciate the call. No problem. Woo, man, we having some dialogue today. Hey, caller, you live, talk to me.
What's Scotty? This is David, bro.
What's up, D? Talk to me.
Hey, man, I like the show what we talking about today as far as the APR. I think, like everybody else said, it needs to be changed. It needs to be you got to change the outcome of it. But I'm gonna get off script for a second. This person, John Chow, whoever John Chopstick, whoever in the damn chat. One thing I don't like when unknown people that we don't know that comes in the chat. I do not like how, they come around and call people slow or stupid or ignorant and stuff like that. And I know, you try to keep everything classy and keep it classy and stuff like that. But I got a bone to pick with him, man. Like, I got a true bone to pick with him. Don't come into the chat and start talking bad about people because we having an actual good conversation and you want to come and bring in stupid, just nonsense, ignorant. So that's all I got to say on that, bro. But anyway, man, you have a good show, bro. It's a good show today, man.
Hey, appreciate it, D. Appreciate it, man. Listen, I know you must have really been irritated for you to call in to say something about a chat. I know you bad.
Bro,
I know you.
I'm at work, man. I listen to the show at I'm at work because I ain't shit up in here right now. But I'm just saying though, like, man, hey, don't come and downgrade us and stuff like that, because what we telling you, what we putting on the show, we telling the truth. It's coming from our own perspective.
Yeah.
So don't sit there and just down us for that. So, if you got a problem with it, he can call me or he can call my show anytime he wants to.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't no, I'm ready for all the smoke. So, I ain't got nothing but space and opportunity.
Boy, you stupid. Hey, appreciate the call, D.
All right, man.
All right, man. Peace. Man, you done bug somebody out. They called in to talk bad about the chat. Listen, man, at the end of the day, man, it's like this with me and the people in the chat. I understand that a lot of you guys live behind the keyboard. It is what it is, man. I got people who I know gonna call in. I got people I know who gonna be in the chat room. I know people who support through the chat, who don't. Listen, it's life, okay? It's life. I get it. People are gonna agree to disagree. That just makes the point of the show. And John Cho, I did see your message, my dude. Listen, there's always a number floating around here. If you wanted to call in, you would. All right. But listen, guys, man, I really didn't think this show, if I'm being honest, man, I thought the show was gonna be 30 to 45 minutes long. I did not think it would be this intense or this great. I mean, this deep. But I appreciate Rocky. I appreciate JB. I appreciate Coach Green, Mr. Campbell, the academic advisor who called in early into the show. I appreciate all you guys' calls and all you guys' perspectives, because that's what it's all about. It's about perspectives. And that's what I always try to bring to the channel. I don't know everything. Y'all probably don't know everything, but different opinions happen. What happened to the moderators, Dr. Lori? The moderators are still there, man, but you gotta let people say what they gotta say. Listen, at the end of the day, the chat is an open forum. All I tell people is don't disrespect nobody, don't call nobody out their name or whatever. But at the end of the day, he's free to have his opinion. He can disagree or whatever. My thing is this: at the end of the day, right? I'm not telling HBCUs not to fight for what they believe. I'm not telling FCS schools, even if it's all FCS schools, to fight for what they believe. But what I am saying at the end of the day, and what I do believe, is that you either have to meet the NCAA where it's at, and I agree with Dr. Lori Wilson, you got to sue them jokers, or at the end of the day, you got to do your own thing, and you got to figure out a way to do your own thing. That just is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Because you've already, like this is the thing with me. It's like you've already built the court, right? You built your own court. You built your own, your bleachers. You've built everything to facilitate your own way to play the game of football, basketball, whatever. You've built it yourself. The fan base, the excitement, the culture, the environment. It is all built how you make it. The band, everything has been cultivated how you want and like it. Tell me, I don't understand what the NCAA does for you. I really don't. Somebody from the NCAA is going to have to call in from the show, or I'm going to bring somebody on, but they're going to have to explain to me what the NCAA does for HBCU kids, for HBCU sports. It just is what it is. So I would love to see what that happens or what that looks like. But until then, there's still going to be, what it is of NCAA. So it is what it is, man. That's the first time I did like a 3-way conference call. I appreciate Rocky, JB, and Coach Green. You guys are super, super respectable. And allowing me to mute you guys so that people can get their points out. That was pretty dope. That was the first time to do that. So appreciate you guys for bringing that aspect. And Coach Green, I did not know Rocky was going to come on and jump on you as well. I wouldn't have let that happen. You know what I'm saying? But you handled your own. You was in that Jake. You was in that Jake fighting. All right. You was in that Jake swinging back. Respect. Mad respect, Coach Green. You definitely got my respect on that one as well. All right. So listen, guys, I appreciate you guys. I'm doing breakdowns today after 4 o'clock. Okay. After 4 o'clock for the kids. All right. Send me something. Remember, if you're a kid and you want to send your stuff to me, I'm going to have an email address. From here on out, you have to send it to my email. From here on out, you have to send it to my email. From here on out, you have to send it to my email, all right? It's going to be recruiting@itsoffscript.com, okay? So listen, until next time. Oh, and also, don't forget, this Monday, interview with the executive director of the Orange Blossom Classic, okay? That's me here on Offscript, okay? 7 o'clock, Kendra Bullock Major will be on the channel. All right, she is the executive director of the Orange Blossom Classic. That is this right here. That's her. Okay, that lady. Okay, she's that legit. She'll be on the channel 7 o'clock. Make sure you be there. Okay, so listen, you already know what it is. It's your boy Scotty. Until next time, you know what I'm gonna do. I'ma holla. God bless.
Thank you for watching Offscript. Make sure to like and subscribe.